So, what is the goal? You have to understand what your goals are in order to really start preparing yourself for this process. Are you ready to buy a house? Do you know whether you need to pay down debt, or maybe do you need to save for the home purchase? Right? Maybe you have zero debt and you just need to work on savings. Regardless of where your goals are, know that they're individual to you, and that's why we have pre-purchase counseling. During pre-purchase counseling, we're going to assess your income and expenses to determine what your overall monthly surplus is. So like I said, if I earn $1,500 a month and I spend $1,000 in credit card debt and I have a really high car note, then I'm spending over 50% of my income on just my debt. Where is the room for a mortgage? Right? Right now, does everybody know how they get paid? Do you know if you get paid weekly, bi-weekly? That's important because that'll tell you how much you earn in a year. So Miss Trinity, she gets paid weekly. Adriana and Trinity, thank you so much for continuously participating. I really appreciate it. They get weekly. They get paid bi-weekly. Stephanie gets paid weekly. Valerie monthly. Diamonisha weekly. Roberta weekly. Oh, really? Somebody gets paid monthly. What do you do, Miss Lemontine? What kind of work do you do? She works for CPS. Oh, cool. Well, that is an interesting fun fact. Somebody gets paid semi-monthly. So, the difference between semi-monthly and bi-weekly is that you get 24 paychecks versus 26. We're going to do a math exercise in a second, so y'all get your calculators ready, okay? Bi-weekly is 26 paychecks. Semi-monthly or bi-monthly is 24. The hack, bi-monthly is literally 2 times a month. There's 12 months. 12 times 2, 24. So bi-weekly, there's 52 weeks in a year. Bi-weekly means divided by 2. So you get 26 paychecks every year that you know that you can budget for. So then we calculate your living expenses, right? What are your living expenses? When we're looking at your household budget, we're looking at transportation. We're looking at household expenses like utilities, groceries, rent. And then we're also looking at medical, child dependent care, adult dependent care. How many of you guys help out family, right? Like I'm sure a lot of you have family responsibilities. And so all of those things are also budgeted, are part of your budget and contribute to your overall savings goals. Oops, sorry. We have then to create and execute the final plan to tell you the reality is this is how much money you bring in, and this is how much money you put out, right? That is called a shortage versus surplus. So is there money left over after all this is said and done and paid for, or is there actually a shortage? Are you spending more than what you're earning every month? That's a shortage. This will give us the opportunity to reevaluate your budget, decrease spending, right? Remember, we use a values-based budget now so that you don't have to sacrifice any of the things that you love and enjoy when you have this house. So then you pay off debt. If there's any bad debt like collections or charge-offs, it is not the end of the world, y'all. We can work on it, and it's a progress. Like, it's a progressive process that you have to work on. I'll tell you, there's no bad credit that you can dispute if it's yours. We will talk about our credit acts and our credit rights later on in this presentation. But what you need to know right now is if you start disputing debt that you know for a fact is yours, this can delay your loan application because lenders are seeing dispute, 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 and they can't resolve really whether that is your debt or not, because it's going to be under investigation. Once you file a dispute, that debt is investigated. So if it concludes that it is actually your debt, that is going to continue to show on your credit report. We'll talk about credit repair myths later on. So somebody asked, how long do we need to be at a job? Does that matter? Or like self-income, do they take that? Self-income, I forgot to ask. Thank you for bringing that up again. For anybody that is self-employed, traditionally, you have to have a minimum of 2 to 3 years of 1099 reports and show that on your taxes. So you have to be able to show that you have been maintaining and managing your income. Some people find during this process that the deductions that they've been reporting actually hurt their income, right? Because maybe it's showing that you've only earned $14,000 a year for the last 3 years. And when you're trying to get qualified for a pre-approval, it may show your income is only $14,000 a year. Okay, so it's really important to understand that housing counselors are not financial advisors. We are not accountants. And so our job is to really direct you to those professionals so that we can learn from them. And so if you do have somebody that does your taxes, you should ask, what does this look, whether, number one, if everything looks correct. And then just make sure if you haven't been filing taxes that you start preparing yourself to do that, because cash income cannot be verified, okay, unless you're specifically depositing it into your bank account. So that's a great question. Short answer, yes, if you're self-employed, you can purchase. You just have to demonstrate that you have the supporting income documents. All right, here's the math question, y'all. John and Mary want to purchase a house in the next 4 to 6 months. They both work and they have $2,500 in savings for the purchase of a house. John works in construction for the past 12 months. He gets paid $20 an hour and he works 40 hours per week. Let's start with John. All right, so I want you to take his hourly rate. Pull up your calculators. $20 an hour times 40 equals 800. Thank you, Ms. Karima. Ms. Karima says it's 800. And take that 800 times 52. Now with that 800 times 52, you have a new value. And divide that by 12 months. Great. You're going to do the same thing for Mary. Let's do the same thing for Mary. Mary works in the food industry for the past 3 years. She gets paid $12.50 an hour and works 60 hours bi-weekly. So take her hourly rate, $12.50, times 60 equals times 26 equals divided by 12, and you've calculated Mary's income. So now I want you to answer our poll question number 2. What is the total household monthly gross income for John and Mary? I feel like we're playing, what's Jeopardy? Okay. Remember, you're calculating it for both. And none of this is graded. Hey, Miss Patricia.
Yes.
You want me to repeat it?
Yes.
Okay, let me go back to the slide. Income for Mary would be $12.50 times 60 equals, and whatever you get times 26 equals, and then divided by 12. So far 9 out of 19 people have answered the poll. And remember that even if you don't do the math or have the accurate answer, it is not graded. We are simply measuring participation. Okay. 10 out of 19. 12 out of 19. 13 out of 19. 14. Can we get to 100%? 15 out of 19. Let's see. It's okay if you, Ms. Lakeisha, it's okay. Don't worry. We're just measuring participation, but if you got a different answer, we'll find out in just a second what that looks like. Let's see. All right, y'all ready? I got 16 out of 19. Okay. Just pick a question. Pick an answer. My bad. All right, 17 out of 19. And Rosalia, are we okay to end the poll? Or want me to wait for a second? Your thumbs up. Okay, I'm gonna wait for a second.
We can go ahead and end the poll.
Okay. Here's the results, y'all. It's C. When you add John's and Mary's income together, they're earning as a couple $5,091.67. So you can take your income just like that. If you're getting paid salary, you would have a set income for the year. You can just divide that by 12 to get your monthly gross income. All right, so raise your hand if there are deductions that come out of your paycheck. Yep, I'm seeing all the hands go up. Deductions. Okay. So a lot of hands are going up. So let me ask you this. Do John and Mary get to spend $5,091 after deductions? No, right? Okay, I'm getting a lot of no's in the chat. Yeah, they won't. Why? Because deductions. And if you're a self-employed individual, you still have to pay deductions at the end of the year. Maybe, day to day, you got to pay gas, you got to, pay the cost of running your business. And so definitely, before you see the money, you're having to spend some money as a self-employed individual. So your gross, we've concluded, is not what you take home, right? So on page 28, you will see a personal household budget. And this is similar to what we will be working on. It is actually as part of when you guys start scheduling your pre-purchase counseling appointment, you'll see a second set of documents similar to the ones that you've already filled out for this class. And in that packet, you will have to fill out an estimate of your budget. Don't get lost in the numbers, y'all. This is only a tool to guide the conversation when we meet. So guesstimate, round, drop in a number that feels good to you, or if you want to actually use this to write down every single itemized item and add up all your expenses for that item, you can do that too. Regardless of how you decide to approach it, don't get lost in the numbers. It's part of the intake packet, and it allows me to begin preparing your individualized assessment. So page 28, we're going to start looking at what this is. This is the Avenue family, right? So, like I said, part of the pre-purchase counseling intake packet is turning in your income documents. So, pay stubs. If you are a bi-weekly employee, we ask that you turn in at least your last 3 pay stubs. Okay, last 3, because that's a whole month. Even if you get 2 paychecks in a month, that doesn't measure the 30 calendar days. So we ask for 3 because it gives us 30 full days of income. If you're getting paid if you're getting paid weekly, you submit the last 5. If you're getting paid bi-monthly, also the last 3. Okay? So definitely keep that in mind because you are going to start prepping. And then if you are self-employed, we ask that you submit at least the last 2 tax returns that you have filed. Okay? And then on income, where it says upload income docs, you can just write a statement that says, I am self-employed, and upload that. So it really just prepares your file. If you get paid monthly, just 1 pay stub. If you want to add a little bit more information, you can do 2 pay stubs so we can compare one month to the other. Sometimes people work less hours, and so we're looking at the most accurate picture of your income, and we do that with your pay stubs. Like I had one client who his take home, let's just say, is $60,000 a year, and then he was taking home about 50% of his paycheck because he was contributing about 50 of it to retirement. So your gross is not your take home, right? So that's what helps us draw the picture of what your net income is. Gross versus net is what you need to remember. Gross is what I get paid before deductions. Net is what I actually bring home, and that's the money that pays for my living expenses. So you'll see the same budget, you'll fill it out, and then as part of counseling, we will also be looking at your credit report. So we pull a soft credit report, which does not have any impact on your score. It will show as an inquiry only to let you know that somebody checked your report. So this debt and credit expenses will be calculated based on any auto loans that you have, credit card payments, student loans, personal loans, payday loans, auto title loans, or any others. Okay? In conclusion of that meeting, like I said, you'll have a current summary, and this is the first visual aid to that you'll get to see based on your net income minus your living expenses minus your debt expenses. This is where you're at financially, and so this will allow you the opportunity to evaluate where you make room for savings, whether you are ready to move on to the next step of home buying by applying for your first loan, or if you have a little bit of work to do on connecting with several different community agencies like Covenant Community Capital. Covenant Community Capital provides a 6-week homebuyer education course, and as part of their program, you may be eligible based on your income for an individual deposit account. So that account is open and created for the purpose of supporting you on closing costs and down payment, and there's a benefit of them matching your savings. So whatever you put in can be eligible for matching. And because they are community partners, you would have to reach out to them to find out if you qualify. Covenant Community Capital. And I'm typing it in the chat for everyone. All right. And remember, you have to apply to see if you qualify. All right. We have looked at what we're going to be doing to create your monthly budget. Now let's look at somebody's budget. Let's look at Avenue Family's budget. This family pays $1,250 for rent. They have renter's insurance, utilities, internet, cell phone. They don't have any dry cleaning or laundromat expenses. Groceries are $4.50. Household cleaning supplies and toiletries are about $30 a month. And then car insurance is included under transportation, gasoline. Maybe they use the metro, maybe they use Uber, maybe they use Lyft, but they're saying $165 a month. Dependent care, health, entertainment, and personal, miscellaneous, pet care, religious tithing donations, all of it makes up the budget. Oopsie. All right. So then this family has debt, credit, expenses as well. So we're saying that their total monthly debt combined, after we reviewed their credit report, is $605. Okay? So that created a shortage. They're earning, let's just say they're earning their gross, right? But their take home is $4,073.33. So after all deductions, their net is $4,073.33. Their living expenses added up to $3,792. Their debt is $605. So once we deduct those items from the net, we have a negative of $323.67. It's all coming together, right? So that gives you a real picture of what you can look forward to once you start paying your mortgage. A mortgage is a 30-year commitment, y'all. So we want to prepare you to be able to maintain it, make those payments, and be prepared for any type of disaster, emergency that will come your way as you continue to pay your living expenses, right? So this is an individualized budget that will be created through pre-purchase counseling. There's a question here. What expenses could you change to have surplus of income? So let's take a look. Miss Shantae, Miss Terry Shantae, are you able to come off of mute? Miss Terry Shantae. If you can, Miss Shantae, you can just drop it in the chat. Do you have access to a mic? Let me see.
Yes. What was the question? Sorry.
What expenses, based on this budget, what expenses would you reduce, take away? What would you change?
I'm gonna say my eating out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to say, sorry, I'm walking at the same time.
That's okay. Multitasker.
And I say help family. Those are I think those are my biggest expenses.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And it's a few other things too, but still.
We can get into it. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay, Miss Melissa, what about you?
I mean, obviously, definitely the eating out. That's going to be one of my problems. Because I'm a single mom.
It's Houston Restaurant Week, too. It's Houston Restaurant Week. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I know I can't afford that, girl. I'm not going to like McDonald's. No, but seriously, I mean, obviously, outings can be minimized. Personal, I mean, you can do your own mani at home. And obviously in-store, online, and Amazon purchases. I don't know about hobbies. I feel like that's something that I would need just to stay, maintain that mental health stability.
1,000% understand.
Tobacco and alcohol, I mean, maybe it's time to quit,
Happy hours are so real, too. It's like, we're just a girl. Yeah.
I mean, that's really it. Help family finance. Yeah, I mean, that's a questionable for sure. Depends on your family and who needs help, I suppose.
Right.
Pet care. I don't need my dogs to go to the groomer. They're fine.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had and I see Valeria and Alasia. I will get to you in just a second. Keep your hands up. That helps me out. Thank you so much for sharing that, because family is a very real topic. And one of my clients, she's like, uh, been participating in the credit program that we have. I'll share about that later on. But she's part of our Match Funds for Credit program, which educates you and builds on credit concepts to teach you responsible use of credit and how it all plays into picking a lender. Right? So she tells me this is the second month that we meet now. We've met 3 times now, but this is her second month really reviewing her credit statement and bank account with me. And she's like, Miss Cynthia, I just really can't make room for savings. My mom really needs my help. And so we started talking. And I was like, well, what does she do? Right? And then I was like, and what's really like, what's your second biggest expense? And she's like, well, I have 2 jobs, right? I'm so tired. I can't even get home and cook. So I just end up buying food for my kids, and those expenses add up daily, right? So she tells me her mom is actually a cook who works part-time. And it was really through a conversation that just was like she had that light bulb moment. I didn't even have to say it. But one of the things that we brainstormed was like, what if mom starts helping with meals, right? So that she can contribute towards your home buying goal together, right? So it's really just a conversation. It is a personal experience, and we as counselors my approach is not to tell you where to cut back. That's something that we work on together. And so it has to be important to you, and important, for the for the people surrounding you as well, to understand, like, what is your goal and how are you going to make it tangible, so that you guys can start putting away the money for the upfront costs, right? So mom has been cooking. It has significantly helped. Hasn't completely eliminated the eating out, right? But that's not the goal. The goal is to just find room for any savings, so that we can start depositing that money into a high yield savings account. And while that money grows, she's continuing to work on her credit. All right? So small amounts make a huge difference. So I have Miss Alasia. Thank you so much for sharing in the chat. You can, I see you put your hand down, but you can share in the chat whatever you would like to cut back. I see Miss Karima said tobacco, alcohol, and maybe music apps, and maybe limiting outing allowances and online purchases. I can't wait to talk to you about that, and seeing what works for you, because it really should, like you said, about the mental health, like that really is a very serious topic. And we want to empower you and create a confident you that feels like your best self every day, right? So definitely a conversation that I look forward to having with all of you. And then Miss Melissa, what about you? Miss Melissa, was that you? Or is your hand still up? Okay.
Oh, sorry. No.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, okay, great. And then Miss Geraldine says she would cut back eating out, hair, and nails. And then let's see. Pet expenses is something that Miss Daimonisha will cut back. So you guys are all saying the same vibe. Like, remove some of the entertainment, eating out. I'm seeing a lot of outings. And so you guys know, right? Like, And so all of that is going to guide our conversations. And this is a very supportive environment for y'all to come into, free of judgment, because we're here to represent you and guide you towards that moment of purchasing your house. Miss Trinity added, and Miss Adriana said, definitely eating out, and we would also say date nights and hair care. Also, pet expenses, as I stated before, my son is spoiled. LOL. I know. I get it. I had another client tell me that she loves to travel, and so she put it in her head that, like, if I save this much money by this date, then I can reward myself with an end of the year trip. So whatever motivates you. I'm not saying take away what you love. I'm just suggesting that you use what you love to motivate your housing goals. All right, y'all, we survived the budgeting. And then I see Miss P said Amazon won't make me to be great, won't let me be great. I feel that. It's so easy to just add to cart. Let's see. Oh, and if you do Klarna or like Afterpay, y'all, they're charging interest now. Did anybody notice that? That if you do Afterpay, they're charging interest. So just be careful. Our goal is always going to be to decrease debts and increase savings. Okay. So let's see. For those of you interested in taking budgeting classes, we are happy to refer you over to a financial coach. There are so many different wonderful organizations that will be happy to work with you. And of course, understanding that a housing counselor will create a budget to support your housing goal, right? Okay, we made it to understanding credit. Everyone's still feeling alive? Y'all have enough snacks? As I hope you can make it for 10 more minutes, right? Because we're going to just jump very briefly into credit. And then in 10 minutes, we will be taking, in 15 minutes, we will be taking our second morning break before lunchtime. All right. So, credit reporting. I was very happy to see a lot of hands go up when I asked if you guys have taken a look at your credit lately. There are 3 major bureaus of credit: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Some clients have shared that they pay a fee, a subscription, to see their mortgage scores, and I 1,000% recommend just making room for savings, right? If you do not need that subscription, that's a question worth asking. Is this the best subscription at this moment, right? Because really, all of these offer free scores, right? The subscription is to really see like what mortgage lenders are seeing on their end. But Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, you can make a free account and they can show you your report as well as your score, and then they can track any new inquiries that hit your credit. Okay. And I do see your question, Miss Melissa. I will come back to it in just a minute. So the types of credit reports that exist, there's the in-file credit report that you can get for free on annualcreditreport.com. And even though it says annual, you can actually pull the report at any time. Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. I recommend you do it at least twice a year, if not for sure a minimum of once a year. Why? Because you're checking, is the debt mine? Are these my addresses? Is this my name? And you're correcting any type of debt associated to you that isn't yours. You're correcting addresses that are incorrect. Just last week, I helped a client dispute because she was purchasing a car with her daughter, and they were clients of this dealership because mom had previously financed a car for daughter, but because of an accident, the car has been totaled, and so now daughter went in and purchased her first car. During the transaction, someone pulled mom's credit without her authorization. So that is a no-no, and it's a direct violation of one of your credit acts. So we drafted a letter and sent it in to file that dispute, to have that hard inquiry removed, right? She's in the process of the credit program. So any inquiry, any hard inquiry, if you know you need a little bit of work on your credit, avoid any new lines of credit, avoid any new credit inquiries, because it will impact your score. All right, so what else? This is used by a creditor to offer you a credit or loan. And then you have your consumer credit report, which combines all of the information from all three credit agencies. And during counseling, I will provide you the Experian credit report. It does not affect your credit, right? It's a soft check, not a hard inquiry. This is the one I'm telling you, the RMCR. This is the subscription that some people opt in for. Only available usually to mortgage lenders, tri-merge credit reports, and it's used to determine if you're a good candidate for a mortgage loan. They will charge you a fee. So that's why you pay a mortgage company throughout the loan process. All right. This is a great screenshot to have. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this so that you know where to pull your credit report. And I recommend doing it off of a computer or a laptop. Sometimes the phone version can be a little difficult to navigate, but give it a try and see. You will have to download the report because it'll show you Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. So you have to download each report and email it to yourself because you won't be able to access it again. That same one. You can do it again later on that week or later on, that month. But it's really recommended twice a year that you do it, if not at least once a year. What I like to call them is our life GPA because that's really what they are. Like, they're going to do the exact same thing I can't say kind of and exact in the same sentence. But when you think about school, there were report cards, right? And then on those report cards, we got our grades. Those grades were measured by major grades, minor grades, other grades. And eventually you got a GPA. When you graduated from high school, then that GPA was shared with different universities you were applying for. That GPA also could mean that you qualified for scholarships, grants, etc. So really understanding that your life GPA is like your school GPA is an easy way to remember that the higher the score, the more access that you have to savings, really, because your interest rates are going to be significantly different, lower than if you have a lesser credit score. And it doesn't mean that there's not, like I said earlier, doesn't mean that there's not resources for you if you have a lower credit score or that it can't be improved. Like I mentioned, we have the Match Funds for Credit program where you can work with a housing counselor for 3 months on monitoring your credit and your credit habits. Your spending habits also are included as part of that. So we evaluate, we track, we monitor with you, and we create a supportive setting so that you're really prepared when you go and apply for a loan. Okay, so remember that. GPA, live GPA, major grades, paying your bills on time. Second major grade, understanding that when you borrow money, there's a limit, right? So if I let let me see who I haven't spoken to in a little while. If I let Miss Heidi, hey Miss Heidi, if I give Miss Heidi $1,000, I'm letting her borrow $1,000, right? Well, Miss Heidi, she's gonna go and she's gonna buy. What are you gonna buy, Miss Heidi? What do you like to buy?
Some bags.
Bags?
Yes.
We're gonna get you a bag. Okay, so you're gonna buy a bag. And then let's just say this bag, she's fancy. So we're gonna say she's gonna buy a $500 bag. So $1,000, right? Compared to $500 is already half, like it's 50% of that. So $500 is 50% of 1,000, which means that Miss Heidi is using 50% of my credit line, or well, her credit line that I let her borrow. So we want to keep that under 30% or at 30%. So Miss Heidi, if you were my client at pre-purchase counseling, I would say, I know you love bags. Use your credit line wisely and buy a bag that you can pay down to $300 because $300 is 30% of 1,000, or make sure that you can buy a bag that's less than $300 if you can't pay it back before your next statement is available, right? I emphasize we want to reduce debts. So if Miss Heidi only pays the minimum of that card, right, that I let her borrow, yes, she's only going to pay $25, right, next month when it's due. But there's an interest rate. So what's happening to Miss Heidi's money now? She's going to have to use that money that she brings home on interest. She's paying interest now on that bag. So I really, really emphasize the big two major grades: payment on time and reducing your credit lines to 30% utilization. That is one example, but we can look at your credit report and look at all of the lines that you have available, and we can look at your specific credit limits. So don't worry if you have questions right now. It is okay. This is new territory. So it's okay to have questions. There's no bad questions. Trust me. Rosalia will tell you how many questions I ask every day. But definitely write down your questions so that we can start talking about that during our pre-purchase counseling. All right. Sorry, 1 second. What was that? Okay. And we'll look at this too. The FICO wheel, we'll look at it during counseling. But you can also, you can Google FICO categories, or FICO 5 categories. It's payment history, credit utilization, age of credit, credit mix, and oh my gosh, and one more. And you'll have to come to counseling to find out the other one. Just kidding. You can you can find it on Google. My FICO is a really good point of reference if you Google that. Okay, guys. Y'all just watched the video and y'all heard a little bit from me. So let's answer the third poll. Okay, before you go to break, just go ahead and drop in an answer real quick. Thank you so much, Brenda, for reminding me we all need some coffee. Okay, great. So I'm going to put us on break, but just answer the poll before you go on break, and then we'll be back at 10:57. All right? Just try to drop your answer before you go. If not, we'll come back to